Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, traders from across the globe. Welcome to Short-Term Trading Live with Oscar. Traders, the last video I put out for you, I left out for a week. I did the weekend webinar, and I left it out there because in that webinar was a lot of instruction, and basically the question was, are we at a critical juncture in the marketplace? And I said, yes, I believe we are. Before that, on the date of 03/24/09, we did a YouTube video and I showed you at least 25 charts in that video. And the question in that video was simply, is there a fundamental shift taking place in the markets? And again, I said I believe there is, but it depends on if the markets get above the Omni's proprietary moving average. At that point in time, the NASDAQ had made it above the average. None of the other indices had gotten there. Also included in this whole package, I mentioned that the dollar index and the euro currency seem to be flipping, and that if there is a fundamental shift, dollars will start to get hammered and currencies will have to go higher if there's a shift coming. With that in mind, traders, I'd like to take you through a series of charts here because I think you'll get the picture of what I'm trying to show you. Is there a fundamental shift taking place in the markets? I've done only two that I can remember, two, maybe three the most, of these types of videos where I said, whoa, put the brakes on, Omni smells some sort of a shift. We happen to be nailing those correctly, traders. The big shift at the top of the S&P, we've seen it coming. We did a fundamental shift video. The big turn in the dollars in August this year, August 08, we did another fundamental shift video, and you've seen what happened there. Dollars went up, currencies broke, and the S&P got hammered. Now, we're here to say, unless somehow unemployment comes out tomorrow, and traders, that's about the only wild card I can see. But unless unemployment comes out so much greater on the downside than people expected, this market is poised to move higher. Traders, I said move higher. Can you imagine? Rock and roll, baby. I have been sidestepping a lot of these trades. I've been telling my Omniacs in my chat rooms every day, I am basically like a boxer standing in the corner with his gloves up, taking a couple of shots here, waiting for the next big move. Now, if I'm boxing against the markets went from a right hand to a southpaw, and I seen the shift coming. If that is what's happened, dollars will continue to go lower, and I think our government would like to see US dollars go lower. Currencies should continue to rally, and the stock market should move higher. Now, wrapped around this whole mess was the CRB index chart, which I brought out to you a month, 207. 2 months ago, I brought you out the CRB chart and said, traders, I'm not sure, but keep an eye on this bad boy because something is starting to happen. And if so many markets get above the CRB index, or if the CRB index gets above the Omni proprietary moving average, that means there is a shift taking place. That chart I'd like to show you here as well. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to go through a series of charts that I think will help illustrate exactly where the market is and most likely where it's going next. Let's go to look at the charts, traders. Okay, traders, the first chart you were looking at, basically, in my opinion, is the chart that has given us so much indecision for the past few days. That is the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ, you know I have called in many, many videos the leader of the S&P, or one of the leaders, right? The NASDAQ got above the Omni average 13 days ago. Ran up, but had this huge triple top. And the last time I presented you with this chart a few days back, I said many times if you have a triple top, you get a pullback and then you break out above the triple top. Well, 1, 2, 3. Pull back to here, and look, we broke out above the triple top as of today. NASDAQ, the leader, is definitely doing its job. It is leading these other charts around. It is leading the indices. Now that NASDAQ is above the triple top and well above the Omni average, you can't think anything else except for an upside here. How long will that last? I am not here to tell you that. I am here to say if you're a day trader, with the exception of everyone in the country being put out of work in tomorrow's figures, this bad boy goes up. In fact, maybe when the unemployment comes out, we might get lucky and have a dip. And if we get one, I am buying it and looking for this market to move higher. Now, I would never simply trade based upon just the NASDAQ chart because basically we're in a bear market, right? If you see one looking bullish, you look at everything else and usually they look bearish. You ignore the one that looks bullish. This one has been looking bullish for 14 days now, ever since it started messing with the Omni average. And I have repeated many times to you Omniacs in my chat rooms, I am purposely trying not to trade a lot because two things are going on. The Omni is flipping from red to green back and forth, which it never does unless the markets as a whole are beginning to shift direction. And that the triple top is too much of a threat for me to just go gangbusters short with the other indices. With that in mind, yes, we got a little bit of heat from some of you Omniacs who have not been trading long enough to realize sometimes you got to sidestep this to catch it right. But I will say I have been in a bit of a defensive persona, I guess I'd have to take on. I was a bit defensive with my short trades in the ES for the last few days because of what you see here. Now, I am a trader that stays very focused, and I know what I see, and I believe in the analysis. I knew this was coming our way, traders. I have been very coy with selling this market, as all of you have seen, because this chart started to lead the way. If it was only this chart, out the window it would go, but wait until you see the next ones. You will really see what I'm talking about here. Okay, traders, the next chart that you will see here is the Nikkei. We're going around the world in the indices. Japanese market clearly got over that average just when the NASDAQ did and began to explode. NASDAQ up, Nikkei up. Other markets are still hanging loose and hanging under the average around this time, but Nikkei and NASDAQ is well above it, right? Let's look at another one. FTSE, traders. The FTSE, I had mentioned this to you in my last video. FTSE goes before S&P. Look at the gap up and then the rally above the Omni average in the FTSE. Very nice. So you've seen the U.S. market, you've seen the London market, you've seen the Japanese market. Let's continue to look at some other charts here. Next, traders, the S&P itself, the big kahuna, the S&P, the one we all love to trade, right? The ES Mini. It appears the S&P is taking its cue from the NASDAQ and moving above the Omni proprietary average. NASDAQ has been above the average for 2 weeks, and NASDAQ is considered the leader in the S&P. On top of that, look at this channel right here. We got above the channel and above the Omni average today, traders. Wow! Talk about NASDAQ pulling on these markets. So now you're starting to see a little bit, I think, of a picture here that's developing. S&P daily E-mini June chart above the average. Don't forget, NASDAQ got above the average all the way back here. And all these bars are above the average for NASDAQ. Being the leader of the S&P, what should happen next? Exactly what we see. S&P should get above the average. But we are not done. There's a few more charts, traders. This gets a little deeper. Okay. The next chart you're looking at is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Once again, you have this little V-shaped looking bottom. I am not calling bottom for sure, but I know we're getting a rally here. Above the average as of the close today. So again, another market finally getting above the average. And traders, whoever has been following me, when the S&P was in a raging bull market, I started calling a bear market when we got below the Omni average. It turned, got below my Omni average. I called for a bear market. I have been bearish ever since until just these last 2 weeks where you've seen me start to talk about the possibility of a fundamental shift. Let's keep looking here. Okay, so you've seen the Dow Jones. Look at the DAX, traders. Let's go international once again. The DAX broke out of that channel, got right to the Omni average as of today, left a little gap, may or may not get filled. I'm not worried about the gap. Got above its previous lows 10 days ago and has not looked back since. So as you can see, this is not just the NASDAQ. This is international movement in our indices. But there are more charts here to help you see what's going on. Let's look at the rest of this crew here. All right, next. You have the CRB index, traders. On this date, I brought you the CRB index chart for the first time. It was back in February. And I said, traders, not yet, but you better keep an eye on commodities because the CRB is starting to get above my average. Here we are. We brought this out again for you, I believe, around 03, 04, 09, somewhere right around there, and said, hey, this is really starting to look bullish. Look at what has happened since. A nice run up, a test, and another pop. And now, if you look, you have a lot of grains, you got a lot of softs, a lot of markets are beginning to move higher, just as we had mentioned to you when we showed you all those charts not too long ago. So if there's a fundamental shift coming, and you see it in the indices, but then you see it as well in the different commodity markets, and all of them hovering around this Omni average. I mean, traders, that is a picture being painted for you. If you do not know how to read the picture, listen to the music. These charts, these markets all together are like a symphony. They play music for you. And if you listen closely, you will hear them, but you got to look at the whole package. So now you see the CRB, that whole fundamental shift. If it is true and the dollar has turned and possibly the stocks have turned for a short period or maybe longer, then our video was timely and correct. There is a fundamental shift taking place. Now, not just the CRB, this also has a lot to do with US dollars and foreign currencies, so let's look there. Next chart you're looking at is dollar index. Traders, on March 4th, I brought you a video and said, is there a fundamental shift taking place on this day, right here? I said, I think there is, and if we rally to this average and fail, I am convinced there will be a fundamental shift. What has happened? We rallied to the average, failed, and broke down miserably as of today. So, is there a fundamental shift? Let's look at another one right behind this. Traders, the euro currency, exactly the same, only opposite of the dollar index. Euro currency, on this day, we brought you a video and said, same thing with the dollar index, we see a fundamental shift. What I want to see is a test of the Omni average, and if it holds, a breakout should ensue to the upside. So far, we got right to the Omni average, kissed it, and started to break out on the upside. One last hurdle. The middle of the head and shoulders. If we can get above this, rock and roll on the euro currency. This could still very well be just a test of the head and shoulders, because quite frankly, what I did not show you is an S&P chart with the head and shoulders, and all we've done so far is come up somewhere near the head. So don't go crazy. You're looking to be a buyer and don't call the bottom, but there is some sort of a shift taking place, and it does look bullish for the indices. Traders, do your own homework. Please pull your own charts. See if you can find these same formations and see if it makes sense to you. Okay, traders, you see those charts? Look, when the Omni starts going red, green, red, green, red, green, within a week's time, I've only seen that happen 2 other times in the last 2 years, and both times the markets reversed completely and started going in another direction. Any of my fans that have been following me way back in the New York office with those videos from New York, I did one of those fundamental shift videos, and it was a big shift in the grain markets. I'm sure you remember that, right? So, traders, we were at a critical juncture in the market. There is a fundamental shift taking place, and it appears 1 or 2 more days above this average, and forget about whether we're at a critical juncture or not, we're on our way higher. The NASDAQ, in my opinion, has already confirmed whether we need the 3 days above the average. NASDAQ's been there, done, it wants to go higher. So I don't know that I need to wait 3 days for the S&P because, like I said, NASDAQ's already taken us there. We shall see. We'll play it one day at a time. You know, here's what I think I need to do. And I feel much better doing this after tomorrow's unemployment report. But I always say fundamentals come out in the charts first, right? Here's what we need to do. I don't know how long it will last. Don't fall in love with the upside. The words "don't fall in love" are coming off my board, baby. Could you imagine? Yeah. Woo-hoo. Don't fall in love with the upside is coming off my board for now. For now. I may have to put it back. Again, I'd feel way better after 8:30 tomorrow when the figures come out, but then that's playing the fundamental game, and I don't play that game. So let's go with what the charts say, And the charts say no matter what the unemployment looks like, we're going higher. What do you think, guys? All right. Did you understand that?
Absolutely.
Very good. All right, traders. What do we got going on? We have some Omniacs here in town. We have G Trader. We have Joe Agent, and they're coming out here right now to say hello. Come on out, guys. Yeah, Omniacs in Vegas, baby. Come on in, guys. So, what do you think, traders? What do you think so far about the charts that you've seen?
Everything we've seen here is great, Oscar. You've always been right about the fundamentals coming out in the charts. Tomorrow will be the same thing.
I think that's absolutely true. All right, traders, we're going to find out what's going to happen. The Omniacs will be with me live in the chat room while this takes place. And we're all here to say, don't forget, say this to yourselves every morning, every afternoon, every evening, because it'll help you keep your emotions out of trading. And you know what that is? Stops are in! Emotions are out! Yeah! Up yours, traders! Futures trading is risky and can cause substantial financial loss. We do not claim or guarantee that you will profit from the information provided. That being said, I'm a 27-year seasoned trader on and off the trading floors. This is how I've made my living for many, many years.